Hello and welcome back to the Cupcake Jemma channel with me, Gemma, in the studio. Feels like forever since I was here because I've been doing a lot of stuff at home, which I hope you've been enjoying. I am going to make something for you today which is so delicious. It's a banoffee pie cookie, and I wanted a banoffee pie vibe with the sort of dulce de leche and the cream, but I wanted it to be sort of this big. I don't want to have to make a whole pie, although I am going to make loads of cookies, but you know, you can just eat it in one. Banoffee pie is traditionally made with a buttery biscuit base, and it has the dulce de leche, it has the whipped cream, it's got the bananas, and it's got some chocolate shavings. So I've packed all of those elements pretty much into this cookie, and you're going to love it. All the ingredients are going to be up on the screen now, so make sure you take a screenshot, or I don't know, pause it, write it down, put it in a scrapbook, I don't know, however you do these things, but I'll try and go through all the weights as I go. So I've started by burning my butter. It's really, really simple, and it's gonna add such a lovely warmth to the flavor of your cookie. You can just use melted butter, but just don't, because this is like a flavor bomb. I started with about 260, 270 grams of just unsalted butter, popped it into a pan, and then over a medium heat, I just got that melting, and then it starts to bubble, and you want to get your spoon in there and just stir it occasionally. And then after a few minutes, you'll start to notice the color is going a little bit more golden, and there'll be little brown flecks appearing on the bottom. Keep on stirring it. You do want to get it to a dark brown color. So don't take it off the heat too soon, and you'll smell the most amazing smell. And then when you finish, do weigh it, because you're going to need 220 grams of burnt butter liquid. So I've got my burnt butter here weighed out to 220 grams, and it's still a tiny bit warm, but the main thing you want is for it to not be hot, because we don't want to melt any chocolate or cook any eggs while we're making our cookie dough. And also it needs to be liquid, so somewhere sort of tepid is just right. You can see all these lovely flecks in here, and it smells really good. So I'm going to add my sugar now. So I've got two different kinds of sugar. I did try this recipe with all brown sugar, but it did make it a bit too sort of fudgy and soft, which is really nice, but because I want to put a topping on these cookies, I wanted something a bit more robust and a little tiny bit more cakey. So I've gone for a mixture of sugars. I've got 100 grams of caster sugar and 150 grams of light soft brown sugar, and I'm going to add that all to the butter. And just using a whisk, just whisk that together. We're not trying to make it like light and fluffy, we're just trying to combine those ingredients. So I'll just put that to one side, and now it's banana time. You know, you've got to use very ripe bananas when you want to get that really punchy banana flavor in your bakes. And don't be fooled by these guys. These are, I would say, not ripe enough, but they are very pretty for the camera, so that's why they're on the front, looking real good. What you want is something a bit more like these, like, they need to be like disintegrating. Well, not disintegrating, but you know, they need to have some give, they need to have lots of color, and you need to be able to smell them, crucially, because all that lovely banana flavor is happening as they ripen. So make sure they're like that. I've got 100 grams here. I'm going to use a fork to just mash those as much as possible. Now, when you mash your bananas, you want to make sure you get rid of as many like big lumps as possible. It doesn't matter if there's a couple in there, but you want it to be sort of becoming, I mean, it's not liquid as such, but it's like sloppy. So when you reach that sloppiness, the desired sloppiness, you can stop. You can add a little egg yolk. Well, the yolk of a large egg, pop that in, along with a teaspoon of good quality vanilla extract, just to give this a little bit more flavour. And then just using the same fork, just whisk that all together. And then add that to your butter and sugar mixture, and give it a little whisk to combine. Lovely. Now we can turn our attention to the dry ingredients. So I have 320 grams of plain flour, and that's already got half a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, and half a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to add, as another little flavour boost, 20 grams of toasted milk powder. Now this is optional. If you don't add it, it's not going to make that much difference texturally. Does that work? Yes, I think it actually is this time. But why I add this is to really boost that burnt buttery, like sort of caramelized nutty flavor that you get from the burnt butter, and we're just going to even more boost it. But if you want to leave it out, that's fine. But we've got 20 grams of that, and I'm just going to whisk that through and then add it to my wet ingredients. And then you can ditch your whisk at this point because this now needs a gentle touch. So I'm using my rubber spatula, one of my favourite things in the kitchen. I'm just going to fold that gently through the mixture. Don't want to overwork cookies ever, but you do want to make sure this is all really well incorporated. And when it's almost all mixed through, you can add your additions. So I am using a mixture of milk chocolate and dark chocolate, 80 grams of each. If you want to use all one and all the other, that's fine too. Just pop those in and then fold those through as well. Ooh, it's getting hot in here. Right, that's all nicely mixed through. I can't see any pockets of flour remaining. So this needs to rest. It's been working so hard. So I like to put mine in just in a shallow tray like that, just then it can rest and cool down easily, much more than if you just put it in a blob in the fridge. So pop that into your tray, if you so wish. Level it off ever so slightly, just to make sure that it's gonna chill evenly. And then pop that into the fridge to rest for 20 to 30 minutes. Now, because that's not very long, I'm not gonna bother with cling film, but if you did want to make this dough in like more advance than that, then just wrap it in cling film, otherwise it will get a little crust. My cookie dough is chilled out, guys. It's actually been in the fridge for more like 40 minutes, which is absolutely fine. Like I said, you can make this a whole day in advance if you want, or even, you know, I don't know, days and days. But I'm gonna measure these out into nice, tidy, even 50-gram balls. I found 50 grams is the optimal weight, so make sure you're using your digital scales, guys. I don't want to see any guesswork. Grab a spoon, and I'm using gloves because I don't want to get sticky fingers. Just scoop up. Let's see, I've scooped up. Should we have a look and see if I've got anywhere close to 50 grams? Feels a bit heavy to me. Let's go. I've gone way off. Try that again. So I'm just gonna gently squeeze that into a rough ball. I'm not gonna be rolling it around, getting it perfect. Pop them onto baking sheets, and if you were just gonna be making these cookies without going the whole banoffee pie hog, I would recommend putting a couple of new chocolate chips on top just to make the top look pretty, but because we're gonna be topping these with icing, I'm not gonna worry about that. So just keep going, space out all your balls nicely because they do spread quite a lot, and this mixture should make between 15 and 18. Right, these are going to be baked at 180. I've had my oven preheating. I'm going to bake them for 9 to 11 minutes. Now, I've got some cookie dough left over, which is no bad thing. I'm going to keep that in the fridge, and I'm going to just make all these because I've got lots of hungry bakers downstairs who love to eat leftovers from filming. But if you want to save your cookie dough, just keep it in the fridge for maybe the next day or the day after that, or you can even put it in the freezer. I would ball it up for it first, though. But anyway, let's get these in the oven. And I'm going to set the timer for 9 minutes and just check them at 9. I want them to be nice and spread, golden around the outside, and still a little bit soft in the middle. They smell good. And they look great. As you can see, they spread out quite a lot. And they are not uniform, guys, but that's okay because we can cheat. I've got some round cookie cutters, a couple of different sizes just to see which one would work best. You've probably seen this trick before, it's a really neat trick. You just kind of gently put your cookie cutter around the cookie and then just shuffle it all back into a nice circular shape. And you want to do this when they are hot, so straight when they come out of the oven, otherwise they will harden up and you will not be able to move them. Now, these are mega hot, obviously. And even though I want to eat them, we're going to have to wait for them to cool down completely before we do the next bit. So just let them do their thing. If you can bear it, I'm going to have a cup of tea. Oh, the tea's this way. It's time, guys, and it's time to make them into banoffee pie cookies, not just banana cookies, although they are delicious as they are. And if you just want to stop here, that's fine. But we're going to elevate them by topping them with some buttercream. Now, I'm using an American-style buttercream, and the difference with this one to what I normally do is I've put cream in it instead of milk, and it's super simple to make. All you're going to need to do is get some soft, unsalted butter. I have 145 grams of that, and just beat that in your mixer or using your handheld mixer for around 5 minutes until it's really pale and fluffy. Then you need to add 225 grams of icing sugar, which you should have sifted first, and I'm going to add mine in 2 stages, beating really well for about 3 minutes after each addition. Next, just half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then around 2 tablespoons of double cream. I feel like this just gives this whole buttercream an extra creamy vibe. So I've got that in a piping bag, and as you can see, I've got a small-ish round nozzle. I don't want it to be too big because these are cookies, they're not cakes at the end of the day, and you don't want the ratio of icing to cookies to be like way out of whack. Anyway, that's ready to go. And the only other thing I've got is dulce de leche. Now, we've made this on the channel a bunch of times. You can buy it in jars if that's what you want to do. I made this using condensed milk, and it's super easy. You just grab a can of condensed milk, pop it into a pan of boiling water that's really high up, and you want to leave it in there for basically 4 hours, topping it up with water all the time so it doesn't sort of boil out. And then eventually it will become that lovely, it'll go from like basically sweet, nothingy milk to this like sticky, delicious smelling yumminess. And that really does make a banoffee pie what it is, I think. I'm going to grab a little piping bag and pop that in there. So tempting not to just like lick that spatula, just with a spoon. Right, not ready for this yet. I'll just put that to one side. And I'm going to create a swirl on the top of each of my cookie using my buttercream. That's my swirl, and as you can see, I've kept a little bit of space as I've gone round with the swirl, so it's not like a nice tight one, because in those gaps, I want to put my dulce de leche, so I'm just going to nip the end of this off. Nip. And just pipe in this swirl in the negative space, as it were. Now, I think these look pretty cute as they are, all this swirly goodness, but it's not screaming banoffee pie to me. So I'm going to finish them with a little bit of chocolate shavings. I sneakily stole the chocolate bar that Sally made in her chocolate tempering video here, which was just perfect for grating. So if you want to, you can just grate over the top of these with reckless abandon, but I kind of want to keep these neat and tidy. So I've done it into a little bowl here. I'm just going to spoon the flakes into a line going over the top of my cookies. Oh yeah. I think these look really cool. Now, I personally would prefer to enjoy them after they've had like maybe 10, 15 minutes in the fridge, just to firm up that buttercream, so you get a nicer bite. But, you know, for you guys, I'll take the hit. Now, let's have a little bite, maybe a big bite. Oh yeah. So banoffee. I can really taste that banana coming from the cookie. Hold that thought. I can taste every element that a banoffee pie would have. I've got the whippy buttercream in place of the whipped cream. The dulce de leche is really intense, and the cookie itself is still a little bit soft in the middle, and I like that. But if you didn't want that, you could bake them for a bit longer if you wanted a bit more of a crunchy vibe. And there's just enough chocolate for it to not be a chocolate thing, you know? Yum. Well, please do let me know if you give this a go. I really hope you do, because they are chef's kiss. If you want the recipe written out, then don't forget you can join our bake club, and even the minimum membership will give you access to a PDF version that you can download. Also, if for a full membership, you can have behind the scenes action too. I'll be back next week with another recipe, or Sally or Dane will be back, both together, separately, who knows. And I will also be trying to do another Cook the Books for you in the meantime, so please stay tuned. Subscribe if you haven't already, give us a thumbs up, tell your friends, tell your family, eat some cookies. I'm gonna do that now. I'll see you later. Pick it up. Great bake.